Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope all of you are doing good. Now with me here's a Nokia 9 Pureview. It's about 5 years now since this device was announced. Right about this time we get to enjoy the Nokia 9 Pureview for the first time. Now for those of you who have the Nokia 9 Pureview with defective battery, I do urge you to watch my video on how to get a proper battery replacement at a very affordable price, and as a long-term update, the battery does work good, and unfortunately I messed up the camera part. Now this is just my other Nokia 9 Pureview device which is working fine with its original battery, so I do urge you to watch my previous video on the Nokia 9 Pureview to understand more. Now it's sad to say that while the Nokia 9 Pureview might be considered a device that has failed to capture interest of many, it is still something that I regard as one of the best attempt made by Nokia and HMD Global to be different in the world where things are getting common these days when it comes to imaging. Now all this started with the journey with the Nokia 808 Pureview many years ago. So right here is just a couple of devices to highlight what the Pureview meant back then and how it has evolved in the current trend. So to understand this, we have to go back to where it all began with the Nokia 808 Pureview. This is the Nokia 808 Pureview. It's been about more than 10 years since this device was launched. This was the time where Carl Zeiss and Nokia was still having a very good partnership. This camera comes equipped with a xenon flash. It has an ND filter and a 41 megapixel sensor, and it's also the first time where we see that Nokia was emphasizing that it's not about the pixel count but rather how you use this pixel. Now this is pretty much true because the Nokia 808 Pureview, although is capable of shooting in all its 41 megapixel glory, it does offer you the best experience at the 5 megapixel resolution. So the idea of a larger sensor is to allow you to capture more data which can be compressed to give you a super 5 megapixel image, which I have shown you right here. So you get a really clean and sharp image with a 5 megapixel resolution from a 41 megapixel sensor, and this is just how the current modern cameras are working with its pixel binning technology. So this is something that has become common with almost all devices. And if you were to see that the Nokia 808 Pureview, while it comes with an ARM11 processor clocked in at about 680 megahertz, the performance of the camera is very snappy. This is because it does have a dedicated imaging chip. Now the next evolution of Pureview comes in the form of the Lumia 920. So this is the Lumia 920. This is the first device in the world to have an optical image stabilized sensor. So the optics here are stabilized with the stabilizer, which actually reduces or balance out the movement of the hand. Thereby you get to capture images which are better, sharper and more steadier. This translates to better low light imaging and better or more stabilized video capture. Now the Lumia 920 comes with an 8.7 megapixel sensor, but it does offer you a look into how low light imaging evolved in the hardware point of view. So these are some of the low light images captured with the Lumia 920, but do take note that the resolution was only at 8.7 megapixel, which was far from the 41 megapixel that we have seen with the Nokia 808 Pureview. Then comes the monstrous Lumia 1020. So this is the Lumia 1020. This is a combination of the Nokia 808 and the Lumia 920. So this has a motorized optical image stabilizer. So this allows you not only to capture high resolution image but also better low light image, something that the Nokia 808 Pureview couldn't do back then. Now the idea about the having a large sensor is again on how much of data you can capture. So within Lumia 1020, for example, you do capture two images, one at the compressed Pureview image, and once you open the Nokia camera app, you get into the higher resolution image, which you can then reframe according to your likes. So probably one sensor is all you need in order to capture probably ultra wide or the standard capture, and you can change into what you want and edit after shooting it. So these are just some of the samples captured with the Lumia 1020, a really fantastic camera. But unfortunately, this runs on the Snapdragon S4 platform, which is a dual core processor, which lacks any sort of a dedicated chip, and you can see the delay and transition, which is much slower than the Nokia 808 Pureview. The reason is because it does not have a dedicated chip, and that means shot to shot takes longer with the Lumia 1020. So eventually what we get to see was the Lumia 950 series. So the Lumia 950 series is the culmination of all the best research that Nokia engineers had put into their device. So this device has a 20 megapixel sensor, but the sensor here is larger at f1.8. So you do get to have a smaller sensor, so it doesn't really burden the processor to process the images, but at the same time you get better optics. And this is probably for the first time that we see some amount of sharpening when it comes to the imaging algorithm for a Pureview device. So for the first time there is some emphasis on making the imaging algorithm to do some of the work that the hardware was supposed to do. So instead of using more pixel, this goes in to use a sharper approach for the images. But that's not to say that the image was over sharpened. It just looks pretty good and pretty well balanced, and this was probably the king of imaging for many years at the time it was launched. Really good camera performance, really fast, really snappy. Really enjoyed using the Lumia 950 series. Now then the shift in focus happened, and then Nokia sort of embraced the world of Android, and we got to experience the Nokia 9 Pureview here. Now the Nokia 9 Pureview is a unique attempt into redefining what Pureview is. This is pushing the hardware boundaries when it comes to imaging, and this has a penta camera setup, 3 monochrome, 2 RGB sensors. This is some sort like a miniaturized light camera, which itself is a highly experimental camera, and the idea is to gather more lights from different angles. So if you had issues with the camera, please don't bother fixing them, because there is no way for you to fix. Each camera has to be calibrated to the device itself, which cannot be done by the third-party vendors. So if your camera is defective, you are probably better to leave it alone and not to tinker with it any further. So this is one of the photos that I've taken, and you can see how much of details and how sharp the device is, and it hits, and you can see how the separation of the image is when it comes to depth. So this is all possible because not only that it has a time of flight sensor to capture the depth mapping, but also the 5 different sensors at different angles allows you to capture a lot of data for image separation purposes. But one thing that I do not really enjoy with the Nokia 9 Pureview is how highly contrasty the image turns out to be. So it's a slightly darker because of the more monochrome input than the standard RGB input, but it is something that you can do with editing, and that is what the Nokia 9 Pureview is meant to do. You are supposed to utilize all the data that you get and edit it in the Lightroom app or Snapseed app, and that is where you get to see how good the images are. And if you see my Twitter feed with my recent posts, you can see the many images that are shared from people around the world that have enjoyed with the Nokia 9 Pureview. Unfortunately, this is some sort of a gamble because the hardware and the software was not really working in tandem, so the experience was quite bad. And this is when HMD Global decided to go for a more traditional approach with the Nokia 8.3, and right here is its sibling, the Nokia 8V, and this has a more traditional approach when it comes to Pureview. This is similar to what we have seen with devices like the Lumia 950. So it's a direct continuation, but this employs a larger 64 megapixel sensor, but this is not your standard RGB sensor, so it does utilize the pixel binning mode to capture or to compress the image at 16 megapixel for better image quality. So the images captured with this device are quite decent, but it is nothing, I would say nothing extraordinary compared to what we would have wanted to see as an evolution of a Pureview device, especially coming from Nokia 9 Pureview. Decent image, but the highlight of this Nokia 8.3 and even the Nokia 8V is the ultra wide capture. So for the first time we see a very capable ultra wide capture and a very good low light performance. So this is for the first time that HMD Global focused on low light imaging on a Pureview device. And the final device that I have here, or the last Pureview device that I have here, is the Nokia X30. Now the Nokia X30 is probably the best made device by HMD Global after going back to the drawing block. I think this is the best decision they've made. A mid-range package with a premium camera sensor. This is more than enough for most of us out there. So I would say that the Nokia X30 is something worth having. It is premiumly built. I really like the build quality of it. It really looks nice. It's really compact and really nice for single-handed use. The battery life is spectacular, and definitely the highlight has to be the camera. This is definitely the best POV experience that you're going to get. Now, if you look at the branding here, the 50 megapixel OIS camera, then we will understand that the upcoming HMD devices, be it the HMD Legend or what it might be named later, one of the teased image has a 108 megapixel OIS camera. So that means that the camera will have PureView worthy image quality. Whether or not PureView branding will make a return is something that we are not sure for now, but I do speculate that the 108 megapixel OIS camera is probably something of a PureView range in terms of camera performance. It is something that is yet to see, but I do think that they would be using the same tactic in terms of the hardware, probably a mid-range hardware with a premium camera sensor. So that is something that we have to wait for until July. But right here are just some of the samples of images captured with the Nokia X30, and at this point of time the Nokia X30 can be purchased in markets like Malaysia for probably about USD 300, which I think is really a good price for a device like this. You can see how brilliant the images are. The images are just sharp, colors are really vibrant, HDR is good. Of course it can be improved further, and definitely the low light experience of this device is something that you really have to try to understand. So these are some brilliantly captured images with the Nokia X30 that I'm sharing you. So I would say that if you want to experience the best of low light performance from a PureView range, the Nokia X30 is definitely the one to go for at this point of time. So while this video is a tribute to the Nokia 9 PureView, we must understand that we will never be able to get something like the Nokia 9 PureView ever again, because the world is moving more into a software-based solution rather than a hardware-based solution. So to those of you out there who wants to experience unique camera approach, then I would urge you to try the Nokia 9 PureView. You can still find many of the refurbished one in markets like eBay or other online platform at somewhat of a reasonable pricing. If you're a fan of Nokia, it is definitely worth collecting and keeping this device intact. So this is just a simple tribute video to the Nokia 9 PureView, something that I believe all of us out there would cherish. So keep this device safe, and I hope this device will last as long as the other Nokia devices last. So with that said, I hope to see you in my next video. Do take care and always stay safe.